Howdy everyone, this is Shade from Nerdiness bringing you some unusual tips for Red Dead Redemption Online. The intention is to try and make things a little bit easier and hopefully a bit more enjoyable for your experience. There are already various tips videos out there. These tips are going to be a little less common and sometimes assumed knowledge, but you'd be surprised what people miss. We're also going to debunk a couple other tips that have been put out there because not everything that you might hear on YouTube is actually accurate. Okay, first tip up is that when you're creating your character, if you haven't already, put your points into health. Health is the most annoying stat to increase. Stamina will just increase naturally by sprinting, using your lasso, and various other activities within the game. Deadeye will gradually creep up by doing headshots, hunting and killing animals, and sometimes using Deadeye skills. Whereas to increase your health, you need to get kills using melee, and the other method is fishing. Yes. Fishing. Right, now let's blast through a whole series of quick tips. Remember to regularly visit the fence so that you can sell any items of jewelry and stuff that you've picked up, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you do stock up on these things from looting bodies. Always remember to reset the trade award when you're purchasing upgrades for your gear, because you'll very quickly hit that $1,000 mark and you can reset it for more gold. If you need to wait for something in game, or you need to walk away for the game for a few minutes in real life, always get off your horse. Sitting on your horse drains its stamina core slightly. Whilst we're talking about stamina, don't sprint when you're running downhill. You'll notice that when you stop sprinting, you're still moving at the same speed, but you'll stop draining your stamina core. Now, if you're getting a weird bug at the start of the game where you keep getting a scrawny nag every time you whistle your horse, go into the stables and purchase a saddle for your horse. Any saddle will do. There's something that can go awry at the start of the game for some players. This happened to me, this happened to one of my other friends. If you want to level up specific ability cards, but you don't want to be stuck using them at a lower level, you can quickly switch them over before handing in specific missions and they will get the XP for completing that job. Now obviously to be a true badass you need to be able to dual wield pistols. You can unlock this early in the game by going to the catalog or to the gunsmith. Go to weapon accessories and look for the horsemanship holster on the bottom left of the screen in the catalog. By default you need to be level 25, however you can skip this by viewing it and then pushing the appropriate button to purchase with gold, which is typically 1 or 2 gold bars. Certain weapons actually have an additional barrel to fire a different ammo type. One example is the Lamat revolvers. This is kind of useful because it can also fire a shotgun shell if you want to. The annoying thing is you have to manually switch between barrels where you want to fire, and in many cases it's only a single shot. A quick way around this is to go into the control settings and you can enable the automatic pin switch. That will switch to the alternate barrel if your current barrel runs out of ammo. Ammunition in Red Dead is not particularly expensive, but it can be annoying to get a hold of because you can't always make it to either a gunsmith or a general store. Easiest way around this is to always order a whole bunch of ammo from the catalog for each of your weapons. It will then be delivered to either post office or your lockbox on camp. So all you need to do to just top up your ammo is visit your lockbox or post office, and the remaining ammo that you can't carry will still stay in the post office, therefore not wasting anything either. Doing certain activities in the game may bump you out of defensive mode. Now if you're wanting to stay in defensive mode to avoid PvP activities or reduce the chance of being griefed, go into the player menu and into the online options within there. Fast traveling or being invited to a posse will not lose things that are stored on your horse. You will however lose those things if you are solo and you elect to change to another server or session, or if you get disconnected from the game. Next up is hunting and skinning. There's some tips out there that suggest before you give or sell anything to the butcher, always to skin it first. This is not necessarily actually a good tip because all of the animal parts that you get add up to the same value. So the skinned carcass, the pelt, claws, hair, fur, anything that you get off of it, it all adds up to the same total. So it's not really worth the effort in skinning it before selling it to the butcher if all you're seeking is to get cash. Now, of course, there are some advantages to skinning animals before selling them to the butcher, such as if you're wanting to collect the meat parts for cooking, or you need some of the other animal parts for various crafting recipes. The other small bonus you get is you get a little bit of Deadeye XP, but not a lot. And of course, if you're trying to donate animals to Cripps, you need to give them the whole carcass. Cripps will not accept scun carcasses. When hunting, there are some tricks you can do to skip the skinning animation in order to speed it up. If you can get your horse or a cart sort of half over the body, it will either skip to a smaller animation or skip the animation entirely. And you can do this by either throwing the body or just parking your horse over the top of it when you come up to it. Just be aware that there can be challenges in doing this. As you can see here, I managed to get the cougar stuck on my cart, which I had to drive around like a madman in order to try and shake it free. At the time of this recording, the best way to accept invites to posses is via the invites menu within the player menu. This will ensure that you get teleported to the person inviting you, whereas if you accept it from just pushing the default alert button, which is F1 on PC, you will not be teleported to them, you'll only be brought into their session. However, this is not the same if you're already in the same session or server as the player inviting you. There will be no teleport or summoning to them. Treasure maps are a nifty way to get some extra loot within the game, and you're also awarded a treasure map for every 10 level milestone you reach within the game. However, you can only hold one type of each treasure map, and I suggest that you don't collect them from your post box unless you're ready to do them. This is because you can also acquire treasure maps occasionally from looting from lockboxes or from bodies, but if you already have that one in your inventory, you cannot pick up that one from the body or the lockbox that you are looting. Now, for all you bounty hunters out there, you may not know that if you want to quickly hogtie someone, you can just charge or sprint at someone with your lasso out and then hit the melee button when you're in range, and you'll instantly tackle and hogtie them to the ground. Whilst you're completing and delivering bounties, you can get some bonus reward by taking longer to turn it in. The best times to do this is just under 50% of the initial timer, or waiting it out until the 30-second mark. However, depending on how much time you've got left, you may choose to instead just hand it in at the closest time that you've got, so that you can quickly get on with doing another bounty instead. There is also a kind of hidden or secret timer for legendary bounties. The longer you take to complete the mission, the bigger the rewards you get. Now, this is capped at 30 minutes, but if you die or have to restart a checkpoint, the timer resets as well. A useful way to utilize this is to hold the bounty over your shoulder so they can't escape near the turn-in point, and if you've got something else in real life to do, like have something to eat, grab a drink, etc., you can just let the timer tick over there, and then when you're approximately at the 30-minute mark, come back and turn it in. Just make sure to keep checking into your game so you don't get disconnected for idling. Now, if you're trying to keep the trader roll ticking over, note that Cripps does not seem to continue making goods whilst you're on a legendary bounty. So make sure you factor that into your decision on whether you want to extend the bounty timer for legendary missions whilst you're on them. Note that Cripps does not need to have a camp actually set up for you to keep producing goods. However, obviously you do need a camp set up so you can go and run the supply missions when he runs out of raw materials. It's frequently talked about that the best way to fill up Cripps' raw materials for animal parts is to hand in good quality deer and other large game, but not massive game and not small game. Now, this is all well and good for being efficient, for filling up the camp and being efficient for your time. However, if what you're trying to do is rank up faster in the trader role, you actually want to get lots of little turn-ins, as everything is a flat 5 XP per turn-in. So if you're wanting to level up the trader role faster, shoot birds. Shoot a heap of birds. They're often in groups together. They have lots of various feathers that can be handed in individually for 5 XP each, and it's typically at least 4 feathers per bird. So that is a nice quick way to rank up the trader role if that is what your goal is. Regarding the collector, there's plenty of resources online to help you through that, but the biggest tip is just to use the interactive online map that's been created. I'll leave a link in the description below. Ability cards are a massive part of Red Dead Redemption Online, and there's a lot to choose from. Some are more useful than others, but holy balls, the main one you need to get is Paint It Black as your Deadeye card. It enables you to pinpoint shoot enemies, especially for quick headshots in succession or queuing up big kills all at once. The second most useful card, in my opinion, is Strange Medicine. This is where you heal and recover your health from doing damage, and in some instances, getting a kill with a headshot can get like up to 30% of your health back in one hit. So for survivability, definitely choose that one. Now the map in Red Dead Redemption 2 or Red Dead Online is quite large, and you'll have to travel around quite a bit throughout the game. There is some good news though, in that you can activate an autopilot for your horse between various points following the roads. This is well known by most people, however I didn't realise this for about a week and a half playing the game, and believe me, it can make a massive difference in your playtime experience. Now to activate the autopilot, simply hold down the cinematic camera mode. This by default on PC is the V key. On PlayStation 4 you hold down the touchpad, or on Xbox One you hold down the view button. The black bars will fade in at the top and bottom of the screen, and your character will autopilot to the location you've selected on the map via all the best available roads. Now note that it can really only navigate roads, and if you're trying to mark a spot that's in the middle of nowhere or in a difficult position to get to, you might have some troubles for the final few steps. Now we all get frustrated with Cripps and setting up camps and how unreliable it can be, but note that if you have a permanent posse, enabling or reforming that posse again can overwrite Cripps' current location. So if you're like me and have a similar situation where my posse camp was set up in Gaptooth Ridge, and then I exited my posse and moved my solo camp for solo gameplay to Tall Trees, enabling my posse again overrode my camp location back to Gaptooth Ridge. Keep this in mind as it's very frustrating for players, and I just witnessed my friends wrestling with it, which was kind of funny but also frustrating. Now depending on how long you've been playing the game, you may or may not realize that you need to tap the Q and E keys on PC or the left and right on the D-pad on console for toggling between different tabs or pages in certain menus. This includes the ability cards menu. Now I know someone who was playing this game for nearly a month before they realized that there were other pages for certain things, including the ability cards. Also note for things like cooking recipes or crafting recipes, you can also toggle left and right on the arrow keys on PC or on the stick on console in order to see different options for that particular item. It's a little bit confusing, but just keep an eye out and you'll figure it out. Now, of course, the biggest tip of all is to just have fun. Try not to get sucked into the grind and climb of doing missions to get money, to upgrade gear so you can do more missions, etc. Just enjoy your time in Red Dead Online and do the things that you like. I used to have friends playing Zelda Ocarina of Time that would just play the game for fishing. Fishing! In a game back in the late 90s on Nintendo 64. Personally, I like to do a lot of hunting and gathering within the game. I think that's quite fun. But if I'm playing with my friends and my friends are online, I like to do bounties and taking out bad guys in groups. But that's it for my tips and tricks for today. Thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments below if there's any tips in particular that you liked, or if there's any that I've missed that you think I should be including. And of course, I'd love it if you give me a like or subscribe. But until next time, have fun and I'll see you later.